Hi, Poem. I have your quizzes here, and I wanted to kind of go over the mistakes really quickly so that we can, you can make that third attempt on it. So the first one says that the area of a square is 64 n to the 36 square units, and then the question is, what's the side length of one side of the square? So you correctly square rooted 64. That would be the right process to get 8. But instead of square rooting 36, which is what you did to get 6, we actually have to be cutting that in half, and I'll show you why. So if we draw a square that has 8n to the 6th as a side length, remember, in a square, all sides are the same, so I'm going to label all 4 of them 8n to the 6th. You find the area of a square by multiplying the side times itself. You're essentially squaring the side length or multiplying it times itself. So if we take your answer and multiply this times itself, 8 times 8 is 64, but I don't multiply exponents when I have like bases, I'm adding them, and 6 plus 6 is 12, and that's not where we started. If you change all of these to 18s, which is going to be the correct answer, and I'll show you in just a second kind of how that changes your answer. So it should have been, if it's 8n to the 18th, whenever you're square rooting a number with an exponent, you're actually cutting the exponent in half. You're not square rooting the exponent. So then these are 18s. So now the rule says multiply coefficients. 8 times 8 is 64, but we add exponents when we have like bases. And 18 plus 18 is 36. So you can see here that 8n to the 18th is correct. Question 2, which one can be simplified? So you chose this answer. If I simplify this, a power raised to a power, I am multiplying and I get n to the 18th. That is not the same as 1 over n to the 18th. In order to get that n to the 18th in the bottom, the exponent would have had to have been negative here. So now I'm looking for an answer that's going to give me n to the negative 18th. You can see these all give me n to the positive 18th. Now I finally get a negative 18 through multiplication. So if I go one step further to simplify that, in order to make that exponent positive, I have to move it down into the denominator. Number 4 says that the simplified form and expression is 1 over 256 t to the 28th. Which expression was simplified? This can also be written, and it's really a preference of mine, t to the 28th over 256, and you're going to see in a minute why I like this a little bit better. So we're just going to kind of move through this. This says everything gets the 4th power. Remember, when you have a product inside being raised to a power, everything gets the power. 256 to the 4th. Okay, that's a humongous number. It's certainly not that, so this one does not work. Next, again, everything gets that power, so that's 4 to the negative 4th, and t to the, well, 28 times negative 4 is not 28 up here, so that's also not going to work. The one that you chose, we end up with 256 t to the 28th, but notice in the answer that we're trying to get, we need it to be 1 over 256, which means we're going to need a negative exponent on that 4. Oh, actually, sorry, that 256 is raised to the negative 4th also, so that doesn't work. In this example, we're going to raise 4 to the negative 4th. Negative 7 times negative 4 is a positive 28. And so here's a great example where I've got some positive exponents and some negative exponents. When you have a negative exponent, in order to make it positive, to simplify the answer, it's got to move down into the denominator. If it's in the denominator, you got to move it back up to the numerator. But here we have it in the numerator. We're going to move it down into the denominator. So now we have t to the 28th over 4 to the 4th. 4 to the 4th is 256. You can grab a calculator and type 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. So there we go. These are the same. They don't quite look the same, but it's because if I put this over a 1 and I multiply like they're fractions, multiplying across the top, multiplying across the bottom, you get t to the 28th over 256. In this last example, it's just asking which one's simplified. So it looks like you're continuing to forget that if you have a coefficient inside a set of parentheses, it is also getting raised to that negative 3rd power. You did not apply it to the 8 here in the correct answer. So this becomes 8 to the negative 3rd, r to the positive 15th. So here's a piece that has that negative exponent. I need to move it down into the bottom. So r to the 15th over 8 to the 3rd. 8 times 8 times 8 is 512, and there is your simplified correct answer. All right, now in your second attempt, I haven't opened this one yet actually to see what you missed. It's possible some of these are repeated. First question says, what is the value of b in the equation? y to the b times 4. So we're multiplying these two things together, and then it gets moved into a denominator, which means when we multiply those things together, we need to get a negative 24. We need it to be y to the negative 24th, because then it moves into the denominator to become positive. So what number times 4 is negative 24? And that is negative 6. If that were a positive 6 like you had selected, we would just get y to the 24th. It doesn't move into the denominator unless it has a negative exponent. Question 4, it says, which equation finds the volume of a cube with a side length of 2n to the 6th? So if I have a cube, that is pretty quick and a little bit sloppy. It has a side length of 2n to the 6th. Remember that cubes are length times width times height, and in a cube, all three are the same. You can think about it like this, and it's being cubed. So it appears that, again, you forgot to cube the 2. It's 2 to the 3rd, and then also n to the 18th. It's n to the 6th to the 3rd, which is 6 times 3 is 18. So then this simplifies to 8n to the 18th, so you can see it there. Number 9, which applies the power of a product rule to simplify. So let's see, you're not doing 5 times 3, right? Everything inside of this, I'm going to write this a little bit bigger. Everything inside of here, all parts of this product are being cubed. So we're looking for a 5 cubed and then a t cubed. The exponent on the t right now is a 1, so 1 times 3 is 3. Same thing actually with this 5. The exponent on the 5 is a 1. We just don't write it. So 1 times 3 is 3. And then we go one step further, 125 t cubed. Question 10, asking you to simplify. So again, everything is getting this negative 3rd power, 9 to the negative 3rd. C to the positive 27th, because negative 9 times negative 3 is positive 27. Here's the piece now that needs to move into the denominator. So C to the 27th stays on top. And now we have 9 to the 3rd in the bottom. That's 9 times 9 times 9, which is 729. And we keep that C to the 27th in the top. Again, remember that pulling kind of that factor out, they are the same thing. Again, if I have 1 over, I'm just going to show you the answer, how it's written. The answer that got picked, that's really like saying this, right? 1 over 729 times C to the 27th, and I can make this look like a fraction by putting it over 1. This is a really old fraction work, but now when I multiply across the top and I multiply across the bottom, you can see how you get that. So making sure that you can recognize an answer like this with something you may simplify that looks like that. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. Some of the same common mistakes, not applying that power to a coefficient inside the parentheses. I'll go ahead and add another attempt. Let me know if you have any questions.